Okay, I believe we are now live. Double check here, everybody. Just a second. Excuse me, excuse me. Let's make sure. Nice. That confirms it. All right. Well, wait for some people to get in before we start doing the weed. Thanks everybody for anybody who is going to be hanging out with us today. Unannounced live stream. Like to do them every now and then. Have a little bit of time and thought I'd come hang out with you fine folks this afternoon. So, as I said, we'll give it a moment, let some people filter in, and we'll get started with some weed. That's the plan, at least. Okay. All right, well, the first bag, what's going to be for me today? Dog right here, you can't see really. It's a shit dog. Bag number one, I am finally, I know some of you like to keep track, almost out of my wedding tape. I've had it for like a month now. And it's time to go to the dispensary, pick up fresh ounce. Not sure what yet, but fielding some suggestions. Bag number one of the stream, again, it could be a shorter stream today. I'm half tempted to go grab my Steam Deck, go play some. Been playing Lego Star Wars on it, the new every all-in-one package Lego Star Wars. It's been probably, I don't know, a decade since I played any of the Lego games, and boy, this one's, excuse me, hair in my mouth. This one's way better than I remember them being. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I'm kind of over Star Wars a little bit too, but this one's got its charms. That plays great on the Steam Deck. If you guys are in the market for a Steam Deck, stuff to play on it. I know I am. Welcome. Looks like we got two crowd favorites. We got our boys Danny and Tony. Unfortunately, this first bag was for me. It means I'm gonna have to get through it very quickly, guys. We'll have a second bag for our two mods. Oh, yeah, Jack. All right. Well, that was bag number one, Doug. Real quick, let's turn up the temp. We started with bag number two, and I hope both of you guys, Danny, Tony, both of you guys are doing okay. Anything interesting going on in your lives? What are you guys smoking on today? Everybody's always curious. Me most of all. Where did I put my mouthpiece? There it is. Cool. I'm also curious if any of you guys out here are huge Elden Ring fans. Like, what is your uh, love, your desire, your familiarity with Elden Ring? What now appears to be one of the, or rapidly will be one of the 20 best selling software SKUs of all time, which to me boggles my effing mind knowing what that game is. Um, but it's I think everybody loves to talk about Elden Ring, and I have complex feelings. But nobody wants to just hear anybody dribble on, dribble, whatever the verb is, for just speaking incessantly about something, especially Elden Ring, if nobody's interested. Tony says he just picked up 2 Hush carts for $46 in San Diego. One a cherry and the other a peach. Well, that sounds great, man. And both of those are synonyms for quality products or quality or you know, if something's cherry, it's new. If something's a peach, well, isn't it just nice? Um, boy, cherry. I like it as a descriptor, but of course, it's a dangerous one because the most common cherry, but not exclusively cherries, are virginity. Weird. But I do like when people call something cherry that isn't exclusively female virginity. It's a great word. I think all words should be used in more context. Let's let them reign free. How do you get higher? Well, enjoy those cherries. Enjoy that peach, Toady. And that is a nice price for 2 grams of a stink distillate, from what I remember. Hush. I remember them also being a an Israeli brand. I think they have like Hebrew on the packaging, which I always found pretty neat. Not a lot of Hebrew or Israeli brands, especially in the cannabis world, not that I know of. Tony says he's been trying to play Elden Ring. It looks dope, but he's more of a shooter type guy. But he does agree that it looks fun. Tony, cool to know. What kind of shooters are your specialty? Are you multiplayer, single player? Are you playing free to play things like Fortnite or Valorant, or are you playing old school, more console-y things like Call of Duty and Halo and or Elden Ring is very different than those. I am not an Elden Ring lover. I'm one of the few. I wouldn't call myself a hater, but I always want to really have a discussion with somebody who is a hyper lover, just to really pick their mind about what it is that they find so captivating by this game that I find more almost my primary emotion when playing it is annoyance. And it has nothing to do with the death mechanics and having to die and replaying bosses. I just really hate looking stuff up. And by that I mean like where the game sort of is designed around the idea that this is going to be a collaborative experience, and the myriad secrets and systems that are hidden and obscured don't need to be explained to a player in either a direct way or a more subtle, interesting game designy type way. It's just like, fuck it. People online will take care of it. And I don't enjoy looking up guides. Like I I understand where people come from with something like Elden Ring, where they're like, oh my god, you know, it redefines the concept of open world. All these puzzles are, so wonderful, and the game just doesn't hold your hand. It wants you to explore, but I don't actually find that to be true in practice when everybody who plays Elden Ring just like how much does it really want you to explore and play with its systems when everybody really just at some point, probably many, many, many times over the course of the game, breaks down and has to look something up. Like, why is that superior or different and better to have to stop what you're doing, research something on the internet instead of the game just providing you the information in either directly through text-based tutorial or again through, excellent gameplay-based tutorials and systems-based things that explain stuff. Elden Ring just says, nah, dog. Internet's got it. Okay. Sorry, that was my Elden Ring rant for now. I put a bunch of time into it when it first came out, and then I said I'm going to stop. I'm going to play it on Steam Deck and use that as my chance to get reinvigorated. But I have not been enjoying it anymore on Steam Deck. Shh, no. Dog is getting loud. I'm apparently talking too much. Might have to kick her out. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. Welcome, JDOG. Glad to have you, man. I'm not sure if we've ever had you before in chat, but welcome. And welcome back if not. And JD asks the very good question, and one I don't get asked a whole lot, surprisingly, what is your go-to shop in Long Beach? Catalyst and JDOG, you nailed it in one. I buy almost all of the weed I use personally at Catalyst. Not all the reviews I do come from there. A lot of them have in the past. But Catalyst is a local dispensary chain, although they are now seemingly expanding quite rapidly throughout California, which I have reservations about. Like, sucks to support one of the biggest players in one growing and growing. But I do support them for the very simple reason that their prices are unreal. And even if their prices weren't unreal compared to a lot of their competitors, which they are, there is one thing that Catalyst does at all of their locations that I've seen maybe at only 2 other dispensaries ever, legal dispensaries, that is. And that is Catalyst includes the taxes in their pricing. What the price you see on the shelf or on the website is what it actually costs, which I find to be wonderful and refreshing and worth a premium in price. But that is not actually the case with Catalyst. It's often cheaper. They're not paying me to say any of this. I don't think they know I exist. But I find it inexcusable the weeds industry's desire to obfuscate the actual price of things, and it's just it's everywhere in the state, and it's so confusing because different municipalities have different taxes, so you're never quite sure what you're going to pay. And some dispensaries include some of the taxes in their pricing and not all of it, whereas other ones, the price you see on the shelf is basically 40% less than the actual cost because all of the taxes are not reflected. It's all absurd. It should be, if you like, I think it's absurd, frankly, in the United States that we've allowed the fucking idea of the price you see on a shelf not being reflective of the price you actually pay to be ingrained in us is so stupid. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Like the fact that we just take for granted that we're like the only country in the world where the price you see on something is not the price you pay. You have to do all this math in your head to, and this is excluding tipping and all of the pitfalls and awful dead ends that are involved there. And by dead ends, I mean conversationally. It's a very loaded topic for many reasons, but it just, why do we do this here? What is the purpose? Why do we allow businesses to lie to their consumers about the cost of things? I don't give a shit about their like, oh, well, this is the price, the actual price, that we receive, that the other price isn't from us. The government takes it. I don't care. Get over it. If you want a license to sell shit, like one of the requisites should be the price is what it, is as advertised. You figure out the marketing and how to, do whatever predatory marketing practices you need to do to convince people to buy your product. But I shouldn't have to worry about calculating any taxes in myself in any, and it's even weirder. It's even weirder in this country. We make it weirder because there's certain things, certain sectors where we don't assume that sales tax, or that we do assume sales tax is included in the price, even though there's no differentiation. It's just like certain industries do, like the movie theater. If you go to buy a movie ticket, although it is changing in some places, for the great majority of the country and for the great majority of the history of movie theaters, the price was as advertised for the movie ticket, even though they still paid sales tax. It was just like, as an industry, they're like, oh, we're not going to do this dumb, this dumb hopscotch bullshit and trying to hide the price of things. It's so dumb. Let's get over it, America, and let's give Catalyst a minor applause for not buying into the system themselves and saying, hey guys, this $9 thing is $9. Please buy it. And I frequently do. Sorry about the rant. Okay. Splash 13 says, I agree 10,000 or 100,000%. I'm not sure how many zeros I missed there, but thank you, man. I appreciate that. And welcome, Splash 13. Speaking of, let's get a new bag in. Looks like we've got one for JD, one for Splash, and welcome, Splash. I'm not sure if we've hung out before or not. Cool to have you. If not, welcome if so. Maybe I got this backwards. And then looks like good old Dead is here. Dead and his good old uncle. So let's do a bag for JD, Splash, good old Dead, and his crazy old uncle. Dead, we have a guy who I just got him and I just adore, who comes and hangs out with us very frequently. And I think you and him would hit it off tremendously. His name is Dr. Smegma Jones. He's a delight every time I see him. And Dead, you guys, I just feel like you exist from the same wavelength. Let's get back to the chat. I've missed some comments, missed some things. I missed, for example, Tony's comment, which he's a big fan of single-player shooters. He digs Call of Duty, but he's a single-player guy. And he mentions a game that I am quite fond of as well, Returnal on the PlayStation 5. An excellent rogue-like, was that what, I guess, roguelike? game for the, again, PlayStation 5, made by people who have never made anything quite like it before, little indie developers. You play a woman who crash lands on a alien planet, and much like all roguelikes, you die, and then once you die, your ship crashes again. You restart over, you remember some things, and it is an incredibly intense third-person wavy shooter. The people who made it, I think their name is Housemarque, made bullet hell type shooters before this. And it's kind of like a third-person shooter, bullet hell, roguelike mashup with a really twisted, delightfully dark story about a woman experiencing some real trauma, in addition to not just physical, not just crashing and dying, Groundhog Day style, but that other kind of fucks you up trauma too. So yes, I totally back up what Tony is saying there. Resogun, excuse me, not Resogun. That was their prior game. Returnal, excellent game. JDOG says, their prices are insane. I work at another shop in Long Beach, and I don't know how they do it. They definitely push us to try and compete, but damn, do they have crazy deals. I gotta respect it. JDOG, you don't have to tell me. I'm curious what dispensary you work at here in Long Beach, and you don't have to say it. Just totally curious. We've got a couple other people, one who works at Culture, and I knew one who worked at Haven, two different Havens actually. And JDOG, their insanely low prices are almost why I feel a little guilty shopping at them, because it doesn't feel fair in the sense that, like, what are they doing? Is this, how are they just, I mean, it's weird at times how much cheaper their prices are, and I don't quite understand what mechanisms they are, what levers they can pull on to reduce their prices and costs more than anybody else. But they seem to be expanding at an insane rate. So the only thing that I'm afraid of is that, like, actually it's a house of cards. It's all built on, like, investor money. The entire thing is, the compelling, charismatic owner CEO guy who's got everybody convinced that he's got the correct model, and he's good old Enron style, cooking the books, making it look like it's working when it's not, because I just don't understand how their prices are that much better. But again, regardless, even if it is some criminal shit, thank you for making the price what it is on the label. Not that I'm insinuating that it's criminal shit at all. I don't know. It's not even speculating that it is. Just the happy recipient of their Walton family price wars of the weed industry. Okay. Let's get through some of this bag for all of our friends here. JD, Splash, and Dead. Oh, Splash, thank you for the nice comment. I missed it there. Appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Tony says, thoughts on tipping. What a fun, prickly subject. Eric, welcome, Eric. So glad you could be hanging out with us as well. Sorry, I skipped over other comments. I'll get to them in a second, including you, Brandon. Welcome, Brandon. Just wanted to say welcome. Glad you're stoned. And I saw your comment that you picked up a copy of Ministry of the Future. I hope you really enjoy it. And I added the book. I can't remember the name of the author, the British Pakistani dude. An author I've heard of many times. But I've added him to the old big old Amazon wish list of books. So I hope to get to it at some point. It sounds great. Okay. Tony's comment. Thoughts on tipping? I'll be brief. I mean, it is everybody's favorite topic to rag about. I actually don't quite understand how why tipping debates get so heated so quickly and so passionate so quickly, because I think, generally speaking, the overwhelming majority of people agree. Even those that are like the system, that do the vast or the tiny minority, I would believe, that do actually like tipping in the United States. I think even many of them would agree that it's not a great system. So let's get the caveats out of the way with tipping. It sucks. Like, it's absolutely absurd. It's dumb. There is no point to it. It's one of the US's many, like, racist economic, like, appendages that's just like a vestigial limb left over from even darker periods in our history. I don't think anybody it's just nobody likes tipping. Nobody enjoys having to tip. Nobody enjoys having to do that mental gymnastics. The arguments for tipping, and they're not totally to be dismissed, is that it is one of the few ways that people can make a certain elite tier in certain markets can make a living wage without needing to work a billion hours a week or have onerous education requirements. You can do it with a high school education. Anybody has the capability of being one, and you have the potential maybe of making a decent amount of money if you live in a big city and work at a restaurant with a lot of volume or high-end customers. So there is that, but nobody likes it. I mean, behavioral economics will tell you the idea of somebody having to just pay more than the original price of something, even though you know in the back of your mind that tipping is this part of it. It's never going to be a pleasant sensation. It absolutely sucks. So that's of course, caveats here. It totally sucks. There are some arguments for it. And of course, the last big caveat, yes, of course, I tip. Absolutely. I'm not an asshole. I'm not a monster. I think of it as an awful system that puts, I don't need to go into all the arguments. Everybody knows intrinsically, like, why tipping is bad. You understand. Nobody needs to explain it to you, why the act of tipping is onerous. But of course, I do tip in every scenario where it is expected. I try to tip well, I hope. I'm not trying to brag or anything like that. But I try to tip at the minimum accepted level for the area that you're in, because different areas have different expectations for tipping. And I try to never, ever, ever go beneath that. But I'm not sure how often I would ever say I've hit the minimum. Like here in Los Angeles, Long Beach, many people would say it's like 25%. So I would never go beneath that. For services, I tip deliveries, whatever the highest suggested one is, because all of these people absolutely deserve every dollar that they are getting. If you can make $40, $60 $100 an hour being a server, good for you. If you can make $50 an hour in tips delivering, great. I'm so happy for you. I'm happy to contribute. But I also just wish that whole psychological game was excised completely. I am very happy to pay things what they actually cost. Like what they actually cost. You don't need to hide so like if I want to order delivery from somebody, you don't have to hide what the cost is. Just tell me up front. Like you don't have to say that, this hamburger will cost $10, but of course nobody expects that that's what it will cost, because we all know there's going to be some kind of delivery fee. We know that there's going to be a tip. There's going to be maybe a tip to the restaurant and then a gratuity to the driver. And of course, if you order it through any delivery apps, they'll take their blood money too. And by the end, of course, everybody, as we all know, these things end up costing like double their original amount. There is no excuse for that. Just tell me up front, 100% of the time, tell me that, hey, there's a flat delivery order. It's $10, whatever it is. And then make the menu cost whatever it is. Like if it's going to cost $13 for that hamburger instead of 10 after you include tax and everything, I'm fine to do that. But we live in America. Tradition rules here. Nobody can let go of old ways. It's the way we've always done it. There's not a lot of great data out there. I don't know. I don't like this. I don't actually know what the success rate is. Anecdotally, it doesn't seem to be great. I've heard, seems like many of them close or switch back. So the data, which is like, it doesn't seem great when restaurants decide to switch over to a non-tipping model for that restaurant. Like sales go down and staff seems to hate it. So that's not good. Like, and that's also something that has to be figured out. But the only way it's going to stop is if it stops collectively and we just like all put our foot down and say, all right, we're done with this model. It's going to be a painful, 6 months while we figure out what the new economics of wages in this service economy where people were expecting to make a substantial portion of their wage through tips. We're going to have to, there's going to be some pains there, but let's just get over it and fucking do it. Like, let's rip the Band-Aid off. It's going to suck for a moment. And then everybody will go, oh my God, I can't believe we fucking did that for so long. It was so stupid. I'm so glad we finished it. We just did it. But we're like incapable of doing that here. We just need to rip that fucking Band-Aid off. I mean, tipping, if we're never going metric, we're never getting rid of tipping, right? We're just incapable of change. Okay. Again, end rant, please tip anybody whose wage is, dependent on tips. And please, even the people whose wage isn't entirely, if it is an expected thing, I hate to say you should do it, but you should. I mean, I hate to say it because I hate to perpetuate the thing, but it's a trap. There's no way to get out. I'm not going to be the asshole who says, well, I'm not going to do it on principle, because that only makes you an asshole. Again, it has to be a collective action thing. Everybody has to say, laws have to be passed, culture has to be changed. See you way.
You prefer 2D or 3D Mario platformers?
Oh my God, Uninspired. Welcome. Thank you so much, Uninspired, for the incredibly nice donation. It's very, very generous of you. And I can't wait to get to your question. But first, we're going to have to give you your very own dab, Uninspired. Thank you again. Let me run through the chat real quick. and then we'll get you that dab uninspired and answer your question. Eric, well, thanks, man. I appreciate the comment about the works. I consume a lot of media. I've always been that guy that recommends things to people, and I love doing it. I genuinely do, and I appreciate you saying that. JD works at a shop called LB Wellness, a mom and pop shop by culture. Ah, okay. Well, then maybe you know LSD Papa. Not sure what his real name is. I'm going to let my dog back in. She's whining. See how this goes. Go. Okay. Sorry about that. They can't deal. Eric says he's never worked in a tipped position, and I wonder how they feel about being dependent on tips. I'm sure it is constantly anxiety inducing. I can't imagine it not being. And it's ridiculous that, of course, my area where I grew up, East Tennessee, in the state of Tennessee altogether, I think tipped wage is still $2.13 an hour. And when I left, it seemed like that was the majority of the wage is that they actually made $2 an hour. So there you are, literally 100% dependent on tips. I don't quite understand how they do it in those areas because in a place like California where the minimum wage is $15 or whatever, the expectation of the tip percentage is often even higher, which is just outrageous to me. We were talking about perversities in the economy, I think last week. And the things I was mentioning in retail and service were all true, but I still don't think that would be true in the sort of inverted wages in the I don't need to go too much into it. There's this bizarre thing that's happening where a lot of mid-sized growing Rust Belt or southern cities actually seem to have higher wages than cities in Southern California or West Coast big cities for equivalent jobs, which boggles my mind. But let's not go into it too much. But in those places, many of those places have tipped wages of still $2 an hour. So I assume their servers are getting screwed. They should all quit and become cashiers at Chick-fil-A or whatever. Well, thanks for that comment, Mark. Mark says he lives in the Southeast and he lives off tips as a bartender. It was pretty cool. No. Very cool. Glad to know that, Mark. Bartenders, much like servers, is a career geographically dependent, but is a reliable, tipped career in the U.S. where you can make a decent wage without having to have excessive, again, academic credentials or whatever. JD, thank you again for your comments about tipping. I agree with your sentiment there. JD says he is in a position, however, where he is fortunate enough to be paid a decent wage by his employers. Not everyone can say that, so I understand the people who are dependent on tips. Me too, man. I'm glad your employer pays you decently. Although I'm going to tell you, JD, that no matter how decently your employer pays you, unless you are they're not paying you enough. Almost certainly, there's no position you could be doing that your employer is paying you enough. Even if they are paying you well relative to other careers or other people in your career, it's still not enough. I guarantee it. Now, I am going to hit up this dab for uninspired, move off the tips conversation, because, again, a lot of strong opinions. I think we covered our bases. So let's move on to Mario. First dab. Uninspired. It's a little big. It's a little intimidating. But I really appreciate it. Both. Thank you again for the donation. And please don't anybody ever feel like, if you ever feel compelled to donate to anything or anyone, give it to a wonderful charity, your favorite charity, instead of me, for sure. Let me know. We'll do a dab for you. But I appreciate it nonetheless. Very, very generous and kind. And also, I super appreciate the question. Here we go. So, yes, guys, what am I dabbing on? To answer your question before we get to the Mario question, this is the very, very, very truly end of the gelato I've had for quite a while. I got to make a dispensary run tomorrow. I'm going to get flour and some concentrates. I'm out of both. I'm out of the wedding cake that I've had for a while and the so Mario. Do I prefer the 2Ds or the 3Ds? Uninspired, I hate to do this to you because it's a chicken shit thing to do. And I recognize that, and you deserve better. But I'm going to go like this. The best Mario ever is a 2D Mario. Generally speaking, I do prefer 3D Marios. Although I do think the 3D Marios are lower than the 2D Marios, depending on what all you consider to be the Marios. Especially do you consider Yoshi's Island to be a Mario game? Because that changes things there as well. Because then maybe the two best Mario games would be 2D. Anyways, the best Mario game of all time. Sorry, Super Mario Bros. 3 stands. I love you. I love you. Don't worry. I love you. I, beaten you on. I didn't actually have an NES. My first console was an SNES. Well, the first console I had was an Atari. The first one, I think, the 26, not the 52. But I think my parents had that when they were super young. And I was too young for an NES. I got the SNES, I believe the year it came out when I was in kindergarten. And it came, of course, packaged. So all of my answers may be, tainted with that. I was not there for the release of Super Mario Bros. 3. I didn't try it until Super Mario Bros. All-Star, also on the Super Nintendo. But, of course, to me, the best Super Nintendo, or the best, well, both, the best Super Nintendo game and the best Mario game is Super Mario World, the launch title for the Super Nintendo. And Pac-Man. The best Mario has ever been. I can't imagine it being better. I love, 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 love it. I mean, who doesn't? But then after that, I really, really so much love Galaxies and Odyssey, like way more than, I mean, I have a kind of like Super Mario Brothers, the original NES 1985 or whatever release, still holds up. You can still play it and enjoy it, but I don't, I would never select it over anything else. I'm not sure what point I was trying to make, other than maybe that Super Mario World is a game that I can play that came out, 32 years ago or something like that. Still play it today and love it, absolutely. But it feels just as fresh. But the outside of Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario Brothers 1, and the quasi not Super Mario Brothers 2, the Doki Doki whatever spinoff that was rebranded, they're just not as good as Odyssey or the Galaxies. They are way better than Sunshine, which Sunshine sucks. For a Mario game. But so I think I'm going to say the best Mario is a 2D Mario, but on average, I think the 3D Marios are the best. Super Mario Galaxy is, god damn, is it so good. Oh my god. Underrated. Both of them. They were hugely popular. They were on the Wii, like the 4th or 5th best-selling console of all time or whatever. But man, they are stone cold classics. Just like Odyssey. Back to the 2D question one more time, and I'm sorry, I will move on from this. I did think some of the more recent new Super Mario Brothers games were honestly not as inventive and robust as they should be. So that was also some negative points for 2D Marios. Okay. That's it. I'm done. I've spewed enough about Mario. We don't even need to talk about Chris Pratt. But we do need to talk about Bob Hoskins. Is he dead? I think so, right? Got a big old bruise there. The real Mario. Fuck you, Charles Martinet. Nobody will ever beat Bob Hoskins. Does anybody remember the movie from when would this movie have come out? I'm going to say August 2002, maybe. That's a real guess. My usual superpower is not working here. Does anybody remember the Bob Hoskins Jet Li movie from around that time called Unleashed, where Mario had Jet Li as literally a pet dog man, and but then Jet Li becomes unleashed and then kills people, and probably Bob Hoskins. I never saw it, but I don't think anybody did. Unleashed. I miss you, Bob Hoskins. I'm glad John Leguizamo is still alive. Okay. Mark asks, what is your preferred temp for dabs? Too high. I usually it's at 600 right now, which is way too high. My email, a problem that definitely has, it's happened to me twice already in just over a year of ownership. It has this proprietary little banger, which has this little safety hook that you have to wrap this little safety hook up around your rig, the heating element with this silicone band. It's a complex maneuver, and it puts this little torque on this safety, or on this little safety arm on the banger, this little glass arm. So of course it's going to break at some point, and mine broke recently. So I've had to, like, I just have the silicone band tied tighter. So it's not quite as tight on the heating element as it was before. There's just a little bit, it's a little bit looser, which means that there's probably a little less thermal conductivity. It's not right on the glass. Theoretically, I'm not a thermoist. I don't know my rules about heat. But I also find if I do too low temperature dabs on the E nail, it will, not all of the product will vaporize instantly, and it will draw up the banger, the wall of the banger, and a large percentage of the oil gets wasted because it just gets sucked through the inhalation tube, whatever the 90-degree bend is called, and does not get used. So I go at a higher temperature than probably should. I'm curious what your ideal temperatures are, Mark. Is it substance dependent for you? For me, I do like try, because each substance, there's so many different kinds of concentrates, and they can have very different, smoke points. They can have very different vape temperatures. So I try to find a good one for the product I'm using that isn't too harsh. Uninspired says, glad to hear I'm not the only one who doesn't like Sunshine. Too many people have nostalgia shades on for that one. Well, yeah, I'm glad to hear that too. I know that we're not the only Sunshine haters. It has some really atrocious level design. The camera is worse than people even make it out to be. I do like the flood thing. Like, I think it's cool. I think gimmicks are great. And Mario always does great with gimmicks. I mean, Cappy is the example of a great gimmick. I think the literal, like, still not knowing how to do a 3D camera, how to, all of that stuff hindered what could have been a way better game. And I hope maybe at some point Mario or Nintendo reconsiders and goes back to the well, so to speak, with the flood idea, because that is kind of compelling. Well, Splatoon kind of has it in inverse. It's fun to spray things on surfaces. See Power Wash Simulator tearing up the charts. Splatoon is hugely popular. Mario is the opposite. You're spraying, things off the surface, but it's great. I think it was cool for traversal. It's a great idea. And of course, Nintendo now is so much better about just the principles of design, that they kind of just fudged there, which is weird because, for good reasons, Super Mario 64 is remembered as like, oh, not only is it the first example really of 3D console design, but it's an incredible example. It's like, it's, the thing that not only does it show the medium, but then it completely defines the medium, which it's even sort of underestimated in its acclaim and influence, I think, often. Super Mario 64. God, I said I would stop talking about it, but yeah, Sunshine, they just biffed a lot of the fundamentals. It's just frustrating to play, even though it could be good. Or, I don't know if the game as is could ever be good, even if they tried valiantly to fix the camera. I think it would require a lot of work, but regardless, I hope they go back to those ideas at some point because they're cool. But going back to ideas is not Nintendo's strong suit. they, especially with Mario, they like a one and done thing. They're happy to sell it to you many times, but they tend not to iterate on it. So maybe we'll never see Flood again. Unless you're a Smash Brothers fan, and then why would you ever play regular Mario when you could play Dr. Mario? Okay. I'm so sorry for all the Mario talk. Let's get another bag going. Mark says he doesn't mind coughing at 650, and he likes to go down to 550 for long, slow dabs. And Eric says he's a 550 e-nail kind of temp 2 as well. Good to know that I'm not too astronomically high then. I'm not one of these kids who does these low temperature dabs. That's beyond me. Welcome, Charlie. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome back. Well, I hope you get those speakers on because this bag, well, Charlie, it's going to be for you. Because and Mark. I don't think Mark got himself any kind of intoxicant. Let's get our next bag going here. Charlie asks if he can ask for some advice. You can, of course, ask. I did see the... Oh, boy. So, Charlie, and I hope you don't mind if I read it here, because I don't want to read anything too private. I mean, I guess you did comment, but stop me if you don't want me to read it. He says some advice. He's been to the doctors in the last couple of days. He's been on a medical drip thing, and he's been on that because he's been nonstop throwing up again. Which, man, super sorry to hear all that. That sounds very terrible. Charlie goes on to say that they're trying to tell him that has to do with weed because it happened so many times every year. And then he says, have you ever heard of CHS being from medical state? I don't know if I know what CHA. Okay. Yes, I do know what this is. Cannabis hypermesis syndrome, a condition caused by long-term cannabis use, which can cause basically very similar symptoms to what he was experiencing. It's supposed to be incredibly rare, and I have no more information on it. I don't know anybody who's ever been afflicted by it personally, and that's just totally anecdotal evidence. I don't see anything on this sort of outlined by this paper from Cedars-Sinai that says any that there are any kind of guesses to how prevalent it might be. I'm assuming it's incredibly rare, especially knowing the number of people who consume cannabis frequently. But it sounds awful. Charlie says, he continues and he says, I can't believe it. He says he can't believe it. And this morning, his doctors told him that pot sucked. I was told for a long time I had CVS. it's a vomiting syndrome, but now they're trying to blame it on CHS now. But being from Scotland, it's rare here. Well, it's still very, very incredibly rare in the States. It doesn't look like there are any tests, definitive tests for these, for CHS. There are things you can do, to narrow it down to see if it might be that. But I assume what your doctors are doing here, Charlie, is that's what they're doing. So much of diagnosing is only let me stop and be very 100% as crystal clear about this as possible. I am in no way qualified and shouldn't, I am, again, not at all qualified to give any kind of medical advice. I don't know. I certainly know, to say that I know infinitely less about the state of human biology or anatomy or diseases or chronic illnesses than your worst general practitioner doctor would be, to insult the term. In whatever I use, I can't even remember. Dunning-Kruger personified. That's our motto here on Wheats. I'm Dunning-Kruger personified. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't ever trust me. Because I'm not qualified. These are infinitely vastly complex topics. And I don't, all of your doctors would know. Not only do they know medicine orders of magnitude better than I don't know anything about medicine, but they know your personal history better than I do. But I will give you my solid advice if you're asking for it, which is what your doctors are doing, I assume, is doing what a lot of people are doing when they're not quite sure what might be causing something, which is they're just trying to narrow things down right now. And they know you do weed, and they know that they're just looking at like a cross-checking databases, and it says, well, you do weed, you have symptoms of this thing that sometimes people who do a lot of weed, in very rare cases, get this condition. And, well, we can kind of test for it by having you cut out weed and seeing if it goes away. And that's what they're going to, I assume, look for. They might sound more confident about, the chances it's going to be that, but nothing will be a guarantee. There's not going to be, you could cut out weed and there is no guarantee your doctors would be right, but they would certainly have a better chance of being correct than I would as to what you've got. I don't know anything about these other than the little bits of things I had heard before in this outline of this paper from Cedars-Sinai. You are the person experiencing this, this awful thing, and I guess you could my best advice would be to do a cost-benefit analysis in your own brain. Like, just do this cost-benefit analysis for yourself, which is how much, how much does weed improve my quality of life generally? And how much will it, my quality of life go down by abstaining for a decent period of time to run a experiment on myself to see if I end up having these awful, bouts of throwing up and feeling faint and all that awful stuff. So you can do it on yourself, and just don't put any expectations or weight upon things. Just run it as like a purely cerebral well, I'm going to see what happens here. But if the answer is like, oh, well, I don't want to go, say a month without weed because it's going to suck no matter what, you know what the worst consequences of this syndrome is. So, you know what the worst outcome for continuing to consume weed would be. And ask yourself even like, well, is abstaining from weed altogether better than having these weird occasional bouts of throwing up and everything? Would I, for some people that they may say, I'm not saying that you should, absolutely not. And of course, consult your doctors more than me. But some people might even say like, oh, I will take having throwing up and feeling sick 3 times a year if that means that I can continue to consume weed. These are all things I'm just saying to consider, along with the recommendation that the doctors say, hey, it might be this. You might want to stop for some time and see if you get better. Of course, you'll never know for sure, even if you do stop weed and your condition never comes back, you'll never be able to know for absolute certainty that it was stopping the weed that did it. But that's just the nature of knowledge generally. I'm so sorry I've rambled so much, and I'm so sorry I've probably made a lot of really awful assumptions, and I ignored chat for so long. Let's go back here a little bit and see if I got anything right. Oh boy. Eric references the article I was just looking at. Larry's also in chat. Welcome, Larry. And your fellow Scottish person, Scottish brother, sister, sibling, hopefully has some good advice for you, especially navigating with the NHS. If I got that right. At least you have, well, I hope your healthcare is, I mean, I've heard it's taken some hits recently, but it really can't be much worse. Can't be worse than here. So again, Charlie, I'm so sorry for the rambling, long-winded, and mealy mouth answer I gave you that gave no concrete real advice. But I just want to make sure you know that I don't, for certain, I do not know better than either yourself or the physicians who know you, both know medicine and your medical history just incomparably more than I do. I'm also very glad to see that it looks like Charlie and Larry are meeting and becoming Scottish Bros. That's super cool. Eric says that the CHS can make you profoundly dehydrated, even leading to kidney failure. Well, if that is true, if it does lead to like renal failure, then that changes the calculus of all of those decisions immensely. Because I don't think if it's, if kidney failure or even kidney damage is a possible long-term outcome, you want to be pretty sure that you don't have that. I would say, err on the side of, let's be our excellent, wonderful, who's our favorite statistical reasoning? We're updating our priors. Oh my God, he's one of my rules to live by. let's all update our priors now that we know that it might give you kidney failure, and say that that should reevaluate or you should weigh more highly the idea of being certain you do not have it. And my God, why can't I not think of my mathematician bro's name? Bays. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Bays. I'm a Bays bro to the end of time. I mean, Bays is in my like top, live your life according to the Church of Bays in a lot of ways. Always update your priors. Sorry, Bays. Let's do my Bay. Tony asks, have I ever heard of greening out? Yes, I have. Even seen it a couple of times. Or to some degree of it. I've never seen anybody green out. I've never seen anybody throw up from weed. And that is a common aspect of greening out. Nor have I ever seen anybody get like truly like worried that they needed to go to the hospital or anything of that caliber. But I have been around people who were like, oh man, I don't feel so great. I don't feel so great. I need to lie down, and then, asleep for like 8 hours. I've seen that more than a couple of times. I have never greened out myself. The closest I've ever come to anything that I guess would resemble greening out, which would mean like doing way more weed than I intended and being like falling asleep way earlier than I wanted to. That's only ever happened one time. Again, I don't know if I would call it greening out, but the very first time I ever made firecrackers, had a bunch of AVB, didn't really measure anything, wasn't really considering things, just went hog wild with them. Ate a big old nasty, disgusting firecracker, which is, as I said, already vaped bud and like graham cracker and peanut butter baked in an oven. They taste nasty. I remember going out and walking from my place and picking up food, like a 5-10 minute walk away. Pretty soon after finishing it, and waiting in line and feeling like right when I was checking out, like, oh boy, this is hitting me harder than I thought. Going home, starting to eat the food with my partner, watching something on TV, and then waking up like 6 hours later, eating some food, not a ton of it, and just kind of falling asleep on the couch. And not even really remembered the falling asleep part, just, waking up kind of. Not in like, oh God, it was very clear what happened. It was kind of pleasant, but I've never had anything close to that with weed before, where I've just been like asleep. So that would be the closest I've ever come to greening out myself. Welcome, Grouch Douglas. So glad you could join us here. And I hope we've got some kind of better resolution for Charlie here in chats. Charlie, who says that they've been a toker for over 10 years and wishes they could green out. Yeah, I'm not even sure it would be capable. Well, never say never. Do enough concentrated tincture, anything's possible. Not that I would want to, but yeah, no need to green out at this point either. Larry says UK doctors aren't accustomed to the herb. That is another thing to consider. I I don't want to give any, I don't want to weigh anything I'm saying, so I'm not going to give any more particular advice in that regard because I just, again, I'm not qualified to do so. But of course, Larry is right when they say that UK doctors aren't as familiar with it as a substance as here in the States for obvious reasons. Charlie asks if I'm down to do some Destiny 2 in a week when the new update is out. Is that when the new season comes out? Maybe that would be an excellent time to hop on. Charlie, you might have me convinced. We should I do have a Discord that never has been used for Wheats, but it does exist. And I've always wanted to put it out there and we could organize something like Destiny. That would be a lot of fun. I don't know if you've hit me up on Twitter. If not, please do. And let's figure out some details and see if we can get some other people interested as well. And I thanks for remembering. We had talked about it before. I'm really curious to skip this whole season, hop in on the next one. Grouch Douglas says Wheats is the thing. What an excellent movie. Almost just saw it for its like 40th anniversary. Glad I didn't because it was supposed to be real shit. Like it was in 720p or 1080i or something and broadcast over a satellite. But I'm honored to be the thing. Cut me, I bleed, but apply an electrical current to that blood and my blood recoils. That's how you know I'm the thing. Hashtag hashtag who they were both a thing at the end. No, neither of them. No, only the other one was. Oh man, I've probably watched The Thing. If I had to guess, I've seen it. I've seen it at least 5 times in my life, The Thing. But it's a classic. How could you not? It deserves its every bit of its reputation and acclaim. I love it so much. Charlie, it is Charlie's still speculating that they might not have what the doctor speculates, which may very well be true. Do not know. Oh my god, guys, I'm so far behind on chat. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get caught up here a little bit. I'm so sorry if I missed your comment, but I'm going to move on up. Grouch says, Wheats got assimilated by the Thing at a weed shop in Antarctica. We're still talking about the Thing, which is excellent. And that is true. I was the Thing all along. That's the twist in this version of the Thing is that you thought it was only the dog at the beginning. It was the dude in the head shop who you had to stop to buy your smokes in the biplane on the way on that last little route to Juneau. I was also the Thing all along. Everybody was doomed to begin with because we're all going to be the Thing after a certain amount of time, whatever Wilford Brimley's computer projections say. Have you ever heard that like crazy factoid that like I don't know the exact number of years and what celebrities it is, but it is a very fun exercise that like Tom Cruise right now is 15 years older than Wilford Brimley was in Cocoon, where Wilford Brimley played like a retiree. It's the Beatus. Pour one out. Moving on. Let's see. Grouch says that they got to see it in theaters in the early 80s. Oh, he got to see it in theaters last Friday on the silver screen. It was quite the experience. I hope they fixed it. I heard that the first time they showed it, it was dog doo-doo, which I had mentioned. All right, I got to move on with chat. Let's see, guys. Sebastian, welcome. So glad to see you back here, man. Hope things are well with you. Welcome back. Sebastian asks, are you jabbed against CV? Corona, duh, of course. Holy shit, my brain. Triple. I think, are we all eligible for quad now? I assume. Not to get into even more controversial topics. We already talked about tipping. I promise I'll get off soon. But yeah, triple J. Double Pfizer and Moderna. I think. Anyways, moving on. But thanks for the question, Sebastian. And feel free to let me know your vaccine status if you wish. If you would like to break your HIPAA protections. Not that I think you have HIPAA protections on an internet stream. Grouch, again, doubts my ability to have a partner, which makes sense because I am a thing. But another thing you don't know about the thing that will be revealed in the thing 4. So, you have to sit through the not so great thing 2 and 3. But by the thing 4, you will realize that the thing is capable of love and that the thing has a partner and that the thing is surprisingly tender with its partner. With everything else, of course, it's a vicious, self-replicating virus/organism hell-bent on destruction, but he's really sweet with his kids. You wouldn't believe it. He's not even like the same guy. But we don't know that until the thing 4. And we're not even on the thing 2 yet, which sucks. Okay. I guess we are actually on the thing 3, because there was a thing prequel starring Mary Elizabeth Winstead that wasn't altogether awful. It wasn't great, but it wasn't like the worst movie to get a requel and shit on some beloved old franchise property, whatever. Not worth seeking out, but not worth digging up to rebury either. Tony says, Wheats is a gas. Well, thank you again, Tony. He always knows how to cheer me up. Love things when things are a gas. Hello, the new Lord. I'm sorry I missed you. I'm so far behind on chat. Welcome from Romania. Thanks for joining us. Hope things are well with you. Groucho says Childs was the thing, in his opinions. McCready. Jesus, it's not like I've watched the movie at least 5 times or whatever. Filled the bottle, the Bartles and James bottle with gas and gave it to him. No, the whiskey thing. What an excellent theory that I can't process at this moment, Grouch, because I'm too high, but it sounds very valid. Your knowledge of the thing is impeccable. You don't know much. You know a lot about the first ones, but like many, you don't really know a lot about the sequels. But we'll learn. We'll all learn. Charlie says, looks like we have a lot of chatter about all of the wonderful vaping products that are out there, which I agree. There are so many. I've got my beloved Volcano. We've got our, I've got the Mighty as well. And it looks like Charlie does the PAX, which I have a PAX 1 and 2. I don't think I ever got the PAX 3. Love the PAX. Great little flower vape as well. And Charlie, last, again, I am sucks what's going on with you, man. I hope you and your doctors get something worked out and gets you feeling better real soon, man. And I knock on wood for you. Again, I wish it could have been more help than I was. Okay. Tony, exclusively Pfizer. I think my partner, I think she might have been exclusively Pfizer as well. You don't even understand what it's like to be dueled up, man. It feels like superpowers over here. Ever since that third different jab, my 5G reception has been off the chain. Larry David says that the thing volunteers at Thanksgiving. Yes, but they volunteer as the turkey, not as an actual person handing out soup. They are the turkey. And guess what happens when the guy goes to carve it in the back? We've all seen the thing. Okay. Grouch seems to concur that the prequel is terrible, but it could be worse. I'm not to put words in Grouch's mouth, but I hope that's the gist. Charlie says that they watched a movie with a guy I look after the other night called Wonder. It was a really good movie. I wouldn't usually have picked it themselves. There's a cool part in it where the principal says the kid can't choose how he looks, but he can choose how we see. Wonder, if I'm not mistaken, I have not seen it myself, is the movie based on the nonfiction book about a kid with a... Is it the Owen Wilson movie? And there's a kid with a physical disability or physical... He's disfigured in some way. That was Jacob Tremblay. I've heard good things about it. I have not seen it myself, but it's supposed to be a really great, feel-good movie. And before I go, let's get one last dab going, and I'll give you some fun facts that I know about Wonder. The real reason I know it, I never did see it, but I know it because of its director, who has a real up and down career, and not just in movies. A guy by the name of Steven, I don't know how to say his last name, Chbosky, something like that. He is the author of the 90s teenage introvert texts, which is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. He wrote the book, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, a beloved book from the 90s about, rich white kids being sad. And then he went on to years and years and years and years and years later, like in 2012 or something, he went on to write and direct the movie for his own book, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and it's quite good. It's got the now very controversial, what's his face, their face, The Flash. It's got Hermione Granger. So this dude who wrote a very beloved novel went on to then write and direct the movie version of it, which people loved. I think it's quite good myself as like a teenage drama. And then he went on to make a movie called Wonder. And then he destroyed his career, presumably, last year by directing one of the most hated movies of all time, literally, the musical adaptation to the movie adaptation to the musical Dear Evan Hansen, movie about teenage suicide, which admittedly Perks of Being a Wallflower has a little bit of, but it is also not a musical. I love getting very high and seeing terrible movies. I love getting very high and seeing all kinds of movies, but I do also have a soft spot for seeing terrible movies. Sometimes ones seem too bad. I hate musicals to begin with. I don't like musicals. But my wife and I were like, okay, this seems like it might be so bad it's good. And we went, and it is not. It is just dog shit from second one to the end. But I would like to see Wonder because I did enjoy the Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I've heard Wonder is quite good. Anyways, I think I promised another dab. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to back out on that promise. I really do have to run. I'm a little bit late already. It is been a blast hanging out with you. Charlie Rico, I would love to do what you just asked as well in the future. I think it would be a blast. We'd have to figure out all the weird streaming issues with good old DRM and all that junk, but it would be so much fun to do something like that. And of course, we mentioned Destiny. Hit me up on Twitter. Let's talk about it there.